Hello, welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. This is an all signs reading for the Pisces new moon that is on February 27th. About, I think 7:45 p.m. here on the east coast of the U.S. Now, I actually already did this reading, but I'd had the upcoming set of eclipses, particularly the Virgo full moon eclipse, in my mind. And that energy just really came through the reading. And it felt as if I hadn't really done the Pisces new moon reading. I'd been sort of sucked into some sort of, I don't know, hybrid between the Pisces new moon and the Virgo full moon. Now, of course, they're like a set. Opposite one another, with the Pisces new moon sort of as a beginning, and then the full moon is this peak, and then the dark moon before the Aries new moon is kind of the ending. But I don't know, it just didn't feel right. It felt, I don't know, slightly distorted in some way. Although I'm thinking that I will post a link in the description of this reading to that reading that's not being posted. And so that if you feel really drawn to go, you can go and see it. And it will be interesting to see how this differs. And then when I do the actual full moon full total lunar eclipse reading for March 14th, how that fits in with these two. Anyway, so I have 12 piles. There's 7 cards in each. I haven't looked at any of them. And then we have the bottoms of the deck that I think of as a kind of collective reading. And we have, very lovely, the healing of the earth, wolf moon with hunger, this 6 of air, 6 of swords, the knight of materials, interesting, he is associated, Knight of Pentacles, with Virgo, so there is a little Virgo peeking in here. And the page of fire, this unicorn with purity, and then the king. Now, an interesting thing is that the 3 tarot decks that came out are not traditional. They don't have any of the, or mostly have any of the Waite-Smith imagery. They have either the elements, or in the case of the Muse deck, a whole different set of suit names. So that's sort of an interesting thing. I mean, there is here, right, there's this desire, and that it's more than a desire, right, it's a hunger, that we hunger for something different, that we hunger for a different way of seeing, a different way of relating to one another. Right, the 6 of air, a movement away from something. Right, the swan's moving away from the fox. But also, there's something contemplative in this card. You know, it seems to me that maybe the fox is not actually paying attention to the swans, but is sort of captivated by something in the water. This may be Piscean waters. And then this card that feels very like spring today. And it is here where I am. It's quite sunny. The temperatures have risen a bit. It is really feeling like spring. The light is brighter with the sun higher in the sky. Warmer air, the birds are more active. And then the Page of Fire, more of this spring feeling. Now the unicorn, I don't really usually think of it as purity, and today he's seeming like something that appears. He's not there, you blink, and then he's there. He's just, boom, come into being right in front of your face. And then this king, who today is feeling like he's just waiting for the weather to warm up, that he's gonna, kind of ditch any, he's gonna get down to maybe just a shirt and hose, and, he's gonna go out in the sun. He's been spending a lot of time perhaps indoors through the winter, and he's just getting ready to go. He feels a little bit like a nod to the Aries new moon that we are approaching. So that is not until March 29th, far, far away. So there is decidedly a sense of, certainly of change, of the spring, a feeling of the spring, hopefulness, a kind of rising optimism that is coming through for all of us, I think. Right. Aries. The gift. Present, honoring, offering. Fruition. The harvest moon. The Two of Earth. The Knight of Emotions. The Empress. Ancient Oak Spirit, Strength. Ooh, I didn't mean to look at that. We'll put it down there till the end, but it's okay. Well, so yes, right? This greenness, the gift, the promise, I want to say. The promise of spring. If you're up here in the northern hemisphere, and if you're in the south, the promise of a spring-like feeling, of a lightening of the spirit. And then fruition. Something coming to a completion, coming to, right, bursting forth. This Two of Earth, the bear's about to wake from their winter sleep and come out of the cave. And then the Knight of Cups, who is usually Pisces court card. And Aries and Pisces are, of course they are interconnected, but they are extra interconnected this year into next. There is a Venus and a Mercury retrograde that's approaching. Venus stations retrograde on March 1st, and Mercury on either the 14th or the 15th, right at the eclipse. And they both move from around 10 degrees of Aries all the way back to about 24 degrees of Pisces. They cover largely almost exactly the same ground. And across this Aries-Pisces border. And then later in the spring and into the summer, Neptune and Saturn cross the border into Aries, and then we'll move back again before next February, when they will cross into Aries permanently. So there is a strong connection between Pisces and Aries, how these two energies can work together. And then the Empress, Venus. Now she's sort of very harvest-like in this card with all her gold and brown. But there is some flowering happening here. I think she is showing up here as a representative of the life force of the Viriditas, of that which brings everything. And I'm going to get up and close the window because the super across the street is using his leaf blower. Now the Strength card, I think this actually showed up in the reading. If you didn't watch the intro, I did this whole reading, but it was too sort of linked to the eclipse. So I'm redoing it, but this card is reappearing for you, Aries. So there is change ahead. And there's kind of a heads up here. There's also, in this reading, the sense of this door getting ready to open. Moving life outside. Now, I certainly think that way back when, people lived much more outside even in winter. Because there were chores, there were things to do, there was, there was hunting, there was tending to the animals, there was, various things that had to be done. And so people did go outside, I think, quite a bit in the winter. But, now, right, going outside without having to, bundle up. Like a real sense of opening that is coming. Even before Aries season, before the Aries new moon. I think that you are going to really feel this spring starting now. That your sense of optimism, maybe a little bit of clarity, but certainly your sense of, moving forward in a joyful, heartfelt way. Being able to, kind of dance in the sunshine is happening even before the equinox and your new moon. So this last card is perception. And I think that's the deal, right? That you're perceiving that it's spring before any official marker. I think personally that people didn't really think about 4 seasons. I think there was the growing season and then there was the not growing season. So kind of summer and winter, really. This idea that the spring begins on the equinox, I think is kind of a modern notion, right, that came along with calendars. You might know where the sun is on the horizon and around that equinox space. And you might acknowledge that. But I think that you thought of spring as beginning when it began around you, and it might change from year to year as temperatures fluctuated, and this tree would blossom in late March, and this year it's not blossoming until 2 weeks into April. So how you perceive things, right? Choosing to perceive that everything is better. Choosing to perceive that that there is improvement. That things are coming to fruition. Before there's any kind of official marker about that. Choosing to get excited and upbeat, even like a whole month before Aries season begins. That it is about perception and not about some artificial or official marker or what other people think. Aries, going your own way, not surprisingly. Trusting your own perception. Taurus. Oh, the leap. Self-love. Oh, the pilgrim, the fool. The hermit. The five of earth. Water spirit, manifesting dreams. We'll leave this for the end. Well, certainly this is about the self, not just about self-love, but about self-trust. I think this leap is leaping into love, leaping into kind of choosing to feel good, choosing to feel happy, to be alive, regardless of what may or may not be happening in your life. Choosing to be joyful about simply being alive. There's definitely, so far, there's this bit of a theme beginning of self-trust, self-love, of personal perception, as opposed to what anybody might be telling you from the outside. Right, this energy of the fool, of the pilgrim. Maybe choosing a particular, right, choosing this stand of exuberance and happiness and vitality, regardless of what anybody else might be telling you. I was saying in the intro that I really perceive spring now. The official start date in the modern world of spring is the equinox, but nature doesn't care about that. Nature does not need your stinking dates. It is, nature runs as it will. And this, right, this feeling of spring, of increased energy and vitality, and you know, there's more and stronger sunlight, and the trees have buds on them, and probably not too long from now, the little snowbells and crocuses will start to emerge, even before the equinox. And that you can do that. You don't have to wait for anything. You don't even have to wait for a transit, I'm going to say. You can make that choice. A transit may support it, may make it easier. But it is not necessary. Right? We have this Hermit here at the center. Personal choice. Honoring your own knowing, following your own counsel. And then the Five of Earth is sort of interesting. I want to say that it's sort of the other side. If you don't, right, if you don't kind of feel ready for the leap, if you want more time to be inward, if you want more time to be self-reflective, to be inwardly focused, then take it. You're not beholden to anybody, Taurus. Right? The manifesting of dreams is not about any particular date. The astrology, the transits, they assist. They may create a bigger opening, but it is still up to you, within you. Your choosing. And the final card is the Dog. Loyalty, sincerity, unconditional love. And, right, happiness. But dogs also, right, a dog doesn't feel bad about, you know, collapsing in front of the heater and just going to sleep in the middle of the afternoon. Or of, you know, going and playing in a mud puddle, or, you know, rushing around with zoomies until they collapse. Or like Stella, who's actually a Labrador, who just is made ecstatic by leaping into giant piles of leaves. She also likes to leap into water. There's this leaping. So leap when you want to leap, Taurus, and go and lie by the fire when you want to do that. There's something, you know, and maybe if you didn't watch the intro, I did this poll reading, but it got really sucked kind of into the eclipse, because I've been thinking about the eclipse, and I feel like it skewed the whole reading, so I'm doing it again. And there's something about that. I'm choosing to do it again. And that it also was, you know, kind of not the moment for that reading, and yet it sort of came out. So there's something about, right, your energy and where you send it. Right, my energy was really I was thinking about the eclipse, and so it really came out in this reading. So what are you thinking about? You are not required to follow anybody else's rules about how you prioritize things, Taurus. Oh. Gemini. The Gathering. Community, kinship, companionship. The Unexpected. Blue Moon. The World card. The Muse of Voices. The Eight of Fire. The Wild Rose Fairy of Love. And we'll save that for the end. Oh. Gemini. So your full reading was all about you giving your heart to something, devoting yourself to something. And this feels like kind of the takeoff from that. There's the Gathering, which may be a gathering of people. That reading did talk about accepting help from others, collaboration. It may also be a gathering of energy, a gathering of resources that are arriving. And then there's the unexpected thing. There's often an unexpected thing, isn't there? No matter how we plan, there may be unexpected things. And that the unexpected thing may, this new moon, and actually the upcoming full moon in Virgo, are both square Gemini. And we do have this World card with, right, the city is burning and you're leaving. An interesting thing about this deck, I was saying in the intro that the 3 tarot decks that came out are very alternative. They don't follow Waite Smith or Thoth rules or Marseille rules at all. This deck in particular runs backwards. The Fool as the Pilgrim is the first card at 0, but then the World is 1 instead of 21. So we begin with the World. And then many of the cards, the second card, which is normally Judgment, is Initiation. And there seems to be, interestingly, for a Pisces moon, there seems to be an emphasis on personal perception of things. Right? So when Phyllis Curott made this deck, she used her own personal sort of perceptions and correspondences and ideas to create this tarot that's quite different from any other. And Pisces, normally I sort of think of Pisces as, the one who wants to, remove borders. I think of people with strong Pisces energy as having kind of a lot of mirror neurons, that they find it really easy to reflect the energy of the person that they're with, to mirror that person. It often means that Pisces people feel very welcoming, right? You feel embraced by that. You feel comfortable because your own energy is sort of being reflected back at you. But this is quite sort of showing up differently. Although there's no sense of confrontation anywhere. This is simply honoring your own perceptions rather than relying on other people. You know, I mean, this card too, the unexpected, is sort of, right? It's kind of an interesting card, right? With these two individuals here, these two women, close friends, I would say. You know, and I don't know if you had a friend, particularly if you were a woman when you were a little girl, if you had one of those friends where you were really close and you know, you hugged one another, you walked with your arms around each other, you would, you know, if you were sitting and working on something, sometimes your heads would be touching together. If you've seen little girls like that. And maybe you didn't experience that, maybe you haven't in your life, and now maybe that is something that's unexpected. That this, right, that this gathering is going to bring you somebody. And I want to say a friend, but it might be a lover. And it could be in a business way that you meet somebody. I certainly met one of my very best friends at a job. That's often where we meet people. And then maybe as a result of this, kind of everything changes for you, right? You pass through this portal somehow. And this is the muse of voices, the muse of air. That you, I don't know, that you form a completely different sense of relationships. That you're suddenly, you know, really excited. That you feel this in ways that maybe you haven't before in your life. And there is something about not being concerned about other people's perceptions. That it's about you, maybe about you and this other person. You know, I have the sense of, you know, sometimes children who create kind of their own language together. What is this last card? Oh, well, that's interesting. Wealth. Oh. Well, that seems like a whole, right, that this is, right, this is really feeling, I don't know, about this relationship now, Gemini. And that, you know, maybe that it's actually not about mirroring. Right, that what's different here is that you are just you, that you don't mirror this person. And they don't mirror you, and yet you form this really close bond. That you are each very individual. And yet you form this very close bond, and that brings you a wealth that you never expected to have, Gemini. Oh, that is lovely, Gemini. I hope that you really experience that. Cancer. Oh, there's the returning home that's been showing up. Transition, life between lifetimes, loving welcome. Oh, assessing. Craftsman of air. The 10 of emotions. The 2 of fire. The enchanted fern grotto with refuge. And then we'll leave this for the end. Well, Cancer. This new moon is trine Cancer, of course. And that may really give you a sense of home. That trine energy could certainly feel like home, like coming home. This energy of water. But if you have been, it seems to me that here, that it's not so much assessing as it is expecting, right? You're here in your balloon. You've been traveling, perhaps for a long time. Maybe you've really been thinking about it a lot. Maybe you've been trying to figure it out. Maybe there's been a lot of mental processing happening. And I wouldn't say that that is all counterproductive. I think some of it is very useful. But you're beginning to see past it to this 10 of emotions. And this feels like you being welcomed home. Right? The whole tribe coming out and welcoming you. And this is whether you are coming home to some place where you began, or whether you are coming home even if that's not where you started. Not all of us begin at home. We find the place that is really our home, once we have become an adult. We've had experiences. And we find the place that is home now. But either way, there is this welcome for you. Now, this might also be a very metaphysical sort of thing. That if you have existed in a kind of a more materialist, only what you see is real, all logic and reason kind of life, this may be a coming home to the metaphysical, to the occult, to your guides, your fellowship, spirits and energies. And that those beings are welcoming you home. And also that this is kind of only the beginning. Right? You come home and then it's kind of like you're almost ready to start out again. But maybe not that you're leaving, that you've come home and now is the moment to begin something new. And this I'm not really seeing, I mean, refuge in the sense that, you know, this is the right place. It may be that you've had some sort of idea, either about a business or a profession or how you do a thing or who you want to be with or whatever it is, that you had this idea, but where you were previously wasn't conducive to that idea. But here, right, in the refuge, is a place to begin. It may be that you will then go back out, if we want to say that, to the world at large and say, here is this. There is a little bit of time here, and maybe it's between now and when Jupiter moves into Cancer at the end of May, or it might be at the Cancer new moon in July. I think it's, or the very end of June. Right, Cancer season. Or it could be, you know, much later. I didn't, you know, right? There's, everybody's time is different. There's no requirement. Only your own knowing about when you're ready. Final card. Oh. The Merlin. So yes, Cancer. Maybe this really is about magical working. About coming home to magic, to the occult, to manifestational working, to spell work, to how to write astrology, whatever it is. But in any case, it's mastery. You know, this could be finding, in a very practical, real world sense, this could be finding, you know, a PhD program, a medical school, you know, some advanced training for your craft that you really feel good about, that really jives with you know, with your ethics, with your perception of the world. Right, and then, you know, reaching mastery. And it, you know, and in that case, it may be that, right, whatever that program is starting in September. You know, you find it through the spring, and you've applied, and you're accepted, and then, right, we move into the fall. Or maybe you found a workplace where you can really develop. You know, I often use architecture as an example. My father was an architect. You find a company, an architectural space where you can really kind of develop your skills, where you can design in the way you want to. Maybe that includes a lot of you know, things that are sustainable, ecologically sound. You know, maybe it's a lot of reusing of spaces. Whatever, right, however it is. You are finding your place, Cancer. You are coming home. And then we'll begin this period of heading to mastery. That's very exciting, Cancer. Leo. The light dancer. Illumination, the radiant self, shining soul. Gratitude. Last quarter moon. 5 of earth. The emperor. The chariot. The wood nymph, beauty. We'll leave this for the end. It seems to me, Leo, that you are meeting somebody. Somebody who will benefit from your help, from your example. I want to say that somebody is manifesting you, Leo. They made a wish, and you are the answer, or a part of the answer to this wish. You know that you, right, you're going to take their hand in a way perhaps that no one else has. That you're going to provide an example. You know, this 5 of earth card is kind of about the passage of time and the acceptance of death, right? Because we have the grandmother rabbit. These are her bones, and then the mother, and then the little rabbit kits. So these 3 kind of generations here, and you know, there's the sickle that's kind of, right, the harvest, the tool of death. You know, I almost feel like that maybe for one of you, a small number of you, this is about encountering somebody at the end of their life. Someone you know, you know, maybe you will choose to volunteer at a hospice or a palliative care place. And that you will actually be there. It might be I really hesitate. Like, I want to say that if it's somebody you know, that if it's a relative, that this is not a prediction of death, that you already know. That this is something you've known. That someone that you care about, that you know, is coming to the end of their life. And that you're going to find yourself really spending time with them. But otherwise, because that's a little specific. For the rest of you, I think it's somebody maybe somebody who lost hope in some way, or whose hope was very low. You know, sometimes that's a moment when a manifestation can come through. When you sort of hit the bottom, if you will, and the resistance just dissolves, you just collapse. And it's an opening for something to come in for you. So it may be that that person is having that experience, that they felt very lost, very despairing, very unable to know where to go and what to do. Maybe they feel, you know, despairing about the state of the world. And there you are, Leo. It's like you show up in this exuberant way, right? You just show up on this wave of music. You show up with this chariot. It's ready to go. You show this person the beauty of life, the beauty of themselves. I mean, it may be that this is you and you, Leo. That you have an inspiration that leads you to see yourself differently. But I do have a sense that this is some other person. And I know that you've had some readings, full readings in the past, or maybe it's part of the moon readings, where there is this sense of you like being the sun in somebody's life. And not necessarily by doing something specific, but just by, you know, kind of being a representative of the life force, channeling the energy of the sun. Last card. Oh, interesting. The owl. Now that says deception and wisdom. But you know, it may be that you, that for you, this will be kind of eye-opening too. It may be that you didn't know you had it in you. It may be that this person inspires you to this. That there's something about them that lights you up in such a way that you blossom as you haven't before. That you see yourself in a whole new light. And also, you know, in terms of the owl, seeing with wisdom, seeing in the dark, seeing their light, even if they feel like they're entirely in shadow. Kind of seeing for them. Focusing your attention on them in an expansive way, you know, not looking at them and saying, oh, you know, this person has all these problems. But looking at them and seeing their beauty and their resilience and their light, so that you bring that forth, and then being able to see yourself in that way as well, Leo. Oh, I think that's beautiful, Leo. Virgo. Tree of Souls. Collective Wisdom, Kinship Group, Library. Oh, Fear. The Craftsman of Water. Seven of Inspiration. Page of Water. Guardians of the Land, protection. And we'll save that for the end. Oh. That's really interesting, Virgo. How this seems to me is like you acting as a transmuter of collective energy. And that may be so. The South Node is moving through Virgo. So your ability to take fear, right, the collective fear, you know, and with this idea of the library, you know, not just collective fear, but kind of historical fear. Then, you know, do your magic, do your, you know, this is sort of a rain dance kind of happening here. And then this creates this opening. And on the other side is the Page of Water, the Page of Cups. And this renewal, right? And this, right, kind of guardians of the land, protection energy. You know, today this feels, you know, not so much like protection, but like welcome. There's actually a different page. I'm sort of inspired to go find him. The Page of Earth in this deck. And if you didn't watch the intro, the Page of Fire came out there. Let's see where, oh, there he is. So interestingly, he is between the Queen of Fire and the Seven of Water. So one can see this, you know, right, as a little bit of confusion. And then this Queen of Fire. And in the current moment, you know, Neptune's run through Pisces has, you know, been an opportunity for lots of imagination and visioning. But there's also, I think, and we can see it in the world, the option for a lot of fog and confusion and escapism and addiction. And, you know, people, I think, have really felt like there's no ground under their feet, so they've been trying to grab on to anything, right? Splitting up into their little groups, you know, clinging to an identity or right, whatever it is, because they feel really destabilized. And Saturn's entry into Pisces, I think, has mitigated that a little bit. I've seen that a little bit. But now those two are going to enter into Aries. And there seems to be something about you, right? I see that Page of Pentacles, right? He's my guide, right? You pass through this portal into this, right? Into this really kind of beautiful place. You go from this place that has no, right, it's all black and gray, and you're down here in this kind of prison. You know, and here there is some water, but there's nothing growing. And then you come out into this green world of possibility, and the guardian waits, this, right, this guide into the new. Now I kind of want to see where the oh, and then the Page of Air is immediately following the Queen of Fire. With freedom. And it seems to me, Virgo, that you are instrumental in assisting whoever in the collective is ready. Whoever in the collective is ready. You know, and I don't think that this means, you know, sometimes when we talk about this transmutation, you know, we talk about taking things into our own body and then transmuting, and I don't think that is healthy. I don't think that's the way to do it. Right? That's kind of a sin eater. That was a thing that existed in the past, a sin eater who would take in the sins of the village so that everybody else was renewed, or the giver in that novel. And that's not what we want, because that's like a real martyr kind of thing. That's the shadow of Pisces across the way, and this Pisces, right, possibly Pisces new moon. This is about showing people the opening. So you're not, you know, you're not taking all of this fear into your own body and doing something to it. The transmutation of fear is the job of each person who has it. It's not your job, Virgo, to like suck in all the negativity in the world. It's your job to be wholly, exuberantly alive. And in that, you show everybody else, right? You show them the opening that exists. You know, and this is not you keeping this opening here. Right? That's source. Final card. Yeah. The spider. Creative projects. So it may be that some of this is through art in some way. Or that it can be that there are creative ways to show people this opening. Right, through the plastic arts of painting, sculpture, through writing, through poetry, through music, through you know, maybe teaching these things to people, to you know, it could be having dinners, you know, or parties where people come and, right, experience the opening. Right, all the different, I'm not going to, right, list all the examples. Right, you're going to find the creative way to bring people to this opening that is always there. The opening is always, always, always there. Source keeps this open all the time. The way out is always there. Right? We just have to see it. Virgo. That is powerful, Virgo. Libra. Actually, Libra, I'm going to pause a second. I'm going to open the window. I closed it because of the leaf blowing, but the leaf blowing has stopped. Ooh, the Isle of Wonders. Revelation, teaching, discovery. Balance. The Guardian. The Chariot. Second sighting of that card. The Five of Air. The Wolf Spirit, family. We'll save that for the end. Libra. Well, this feels like you stepping into a leadership role, Libra, in some way. And I feel like that's sort of come up for you before. You know, this is where you have been. Learning, experiencing, hiding, wallowing. I've done all of those myself. Whatever you've been doing here, is kind of up until this point. And it, you know, the reading I just did for Virgo, I think was very connected to the South Node moving through Virgo at this time. And the South Node was moving through Libra. So it wouldn't be surprising if you were, you know, kind of in this space, sort of clearing up things, figuring out what you want to keep and what you want to let go. Sort of, right, the Marie Kondoing of your life. I wonder if she knew she'd become a verb. And then this balance is seeming to me like the space in between, right? Like the clouds are lifting. You've been in this really misty place, this Isle of Wonders, and now the clouds are lifting. And you're arriving into this place. And I want to say that, right, that the clouds lift, the mist goes away, and you realize that, right, you've changed. And there's all these people around you. There's that, right, that have kind of are gathering around you. And I think that can totally happen, that we have no idea how much we've changed, because for us it's been really gradual. Also, we're really, you know, we're sort of aware of who we were, and sometimes we can be vigilant about that. I don't want to go back to that. And so we may not see the extent to which we have changed. But I think the world is seeing it. That even if you don't see yourself like this, right, with this really strong kind of center, sacral and solar plexus chakra energy of will and strength and resilience and power, that even if you don't see yourself, other people see you that way. I mean, you may see yourself a little more like this, that yes, you're kind of up and moving, but, you know, a little bit more ethereal perhaps. Maybe still a little more mentally driven. You know, kind of the three upper chakras, throat, third eye, and crown. But you do, right? You do know that something has changed. That you're moving outward. There will be a Libra full moon in April. Somewhere in the middle of April. Where you may really kind of feel this. But I think that during this Pisces moon is this, right, is this first reveal. And then it may be a process, right, over the next months for you to really see yourself in this leadership role. You know, and it may be to do with your family. It may be that you really come out as kind of the, right, the keystone, the cornerstone, the kind of center of your family, even if you didn't know it. And this doesn't mean, of course, you know, that you solve everybody's problems, but that you see people clearly, that you know how to talk to different people in order to get their attention, that you're really interested in seeing everybody be their best and have their best. Right? There's this thing here with all of the horses. And there's kind of a mutuality. I don't think that you're not tugging on these reins. There is a mutuality here. Final card. Oh, see? The dragon. Power. Strength. I think that this new moon is the beginning of this transition for you, Libra. Maybe from, being in the background to stepping into the foreground. To recognizing, to seeing yourself as maybe lots of other people are already seeing you. Often people see stuff that we don't. Sometimes people can be more perceptive than we give them credit for. So seeing yourself as others already see you, Libra. Scorpio. The crystal path. Mineral spirits, crystal beings. Focus. The Witch of Water. The Ace of Emotions right there in the center. Seven of Earth. The Phoenix, Scorpio. Transmutation. And we'll leave this for the end. Well, clearly, more than the crystal path, just right, that it's an opening. It's an opening, and it's very much a metaphysical opening, right? You go out the path, you enter this portal, you end up in this space. Scorpio. right? That butterfly on your third eye. And I want to say that this is someone you meet. That you are meeting the Witch of Water. So you know, it's like you're on land and you go through this portal and you sink into this world of water. And while you're there, you meet the Witch of Water. And the result of that is this Ace of Emotions. And it's a change of heart. It's a change of heart. And it's an opening, and you rise again. And then you're back on land. But this time, right, you are really in communication with, I almost want to say really with fairies, but, right, whatever that means to you. And it's almost, I mean, it's feeling here like there's some sort of like final instruction, or I don't know. It feels like a process, right? You go through the thing, you end up in the water, you meet the Witch of Water, you come back on land, and then there's this transmutation. So the burning needs to happen on land. That's where the oxygen is. That's where the fire won't get put out by the water. So there's a whole emotional change that happens to you. I don't know, a change of heart, an opening of heart, a lightening of the heart. And then you come back on land kind of for the final instructions on how to burn yourself up and become the phoenix. You know, it seems clear and yet also really mysterious at the same time. Final card, let's see if it helps us. Oh, the Wind Fairy. Thoughts, words, intellectual analysis. I think it's not about that. I don't know, this, right? It seems to me that this is the Wind Fairy. Right, and that she's going to fan your flames so that you really burn up fast. I don't know, Scorpio. I feel sort of, I don't know, it seems somehow inadequate. Like I haven't really given you any information. This is, right, you're in this process that maybe begins with this new moon. That you're coming to some new level. You know, even if you're already deep into the occult, into metaphysics, into spirituality, into all of that, whatever we want to call it. That this may take you to some new level that you haven't been at before. But I don't know, maybe it's different for everybody. I don't know, I feel like I want to pull one card out of this other deck to give some extra bit of information for you, Scorpio. Oh, bottom of the deck is the Hierophant. Oh, and Strength right below that. Your fellow fixed signs. This particular Seven of Swords on the bottom. Oh, oh, Scorpio, it's the Ten of Swords. I don't know, is that helpful? I don't know, it's a confirmation, right? A confirmation of whatever is going to be burned up, put on the pyre. I don't think I'm going to get any more than that, Scorpio, because I think it will be individual for everybody for how this happens. But there is some new space that you are accessing, Scorpio. Sagittarius. The Temple of Dreams. Sacred dreams, prophecies, dream journeys. Protection. The Craftsman of Earth. Justice. The Eight of Water. Owl Spirit Wisdom. And we'll save this for the end. You know, this Sagittarius feels to me, and this, I don't know, this is showing up maybe a little bit as a theme of being like transported into a new space, like finding yourself in a new space, right? It's like you went to sleep here, and sometime during the night, this bird came and got you. You're still sleeping here in your little nest, but this bird has taken you. And there's some kind of changes are occurring in the physical world that are not controlled by you. You are not in control of the Craftsman of Earth. You are not in control of this bird. The only thing that you are in control of is allowing this to occur. So there is something in whatever work you've been doing in, unchaining yourself. We've been talking in your full readings about you allowing yourself to have, allowing yourself to succeed, not always moving the target further out for yourself, right? Allowing your arrow to hit the target. So something in that is now coming to fruition. Interestingly, right, this Pisces moon and the Virgo following it are square Sagittarius. So it is an opportunity for dynamic action and change. So something is being created, reworked, arranged. And I am getting a little bit of a feeling that it might be, because it is a square, it could be jarring. Right? There's also this justice, right, with the heads, right? The heads are splitting open. It could be jarring. You know, the example that's coming to mind is that you get laid off from your job, or, you know, your landlord decides to sell the house where you live and you have to move. But the place that you're moving to, the new job that you're going to, exists, is there. Right? Because then we also have this 8 of water. And this is sort of coming through 2 ways, and it may depend on your situation. Way 1 is that you're here. You are sort of entirely on board with this. Maybe you know, maybe you've quit your job rather than waiting to be laid off. That you're a little bit of there's a little bit more active participation in this. And you've gathered all your stuff and you're just waiting for this ship to come, and then you're going to get on and go. The other possibility is that you've been dropped off here by the ship on this desert island, or what appears to be a desert island. But you have, right? You have everything that you need. And what you need to do now is to turn away from the ship that dropped you and go to the next thing. Right? This feels a little bit like that too, right? You're sitting here, you're contemplating, and then this owl is coming. And again, it could be 2 ways. You could be completely oblivious to the fact that this owl is going to show up. Or you could be in anticipation. And I think that the stance that you take, the level of active participation, mentally, you know, I don't think it's quite so much, you know, maybe about leaving your job. I think maybe it's about a mental position. Saying to yourself, I'm manifesting a change in the best way possible. So that then if you do get laid off, you are ready. Right? It doesn't smack you in the side of the head. Right? You don't know necessarily perhaps that it's an owl, but you've got your red dress on. You are making choices and mental choices from this heart-based space. Final card, the Bard. Music, poetry, myth, history, and the enchantment of storytelling. What story are you telling, Sagittarius? Are you telling the story of a magic bird that carries you into a wonderful new land, and that you're so excited about, you know, what it is that you've manifested, even if you can't see all the details? Or do you tell a story about the tower that's going to come and just blow your world apart, so that you have to scramble and drag yourself, or, you know, stand here on the beach waiting and waiting and waiting for hours, you know, for the boat that takes you away? What is the story that you're telling, Sagittarius? And I know that the old story is seductive and, you know, has a lot of, right, has often deeply etched pathways in our mind. Yes. But you can change it, right? This change of mind is here in the center. Sagittarius. Oh, things are moving. Oh, opposite way. All right, Capricorn. The water spirit. Emotions, memory, life force. Abundance. This, I'm pretty sure, came out for you in the, if you didn't watch the intro, I did this reading, this already, but it really got sucked into the eclipse. And so I am doing it again. But this abundance card came out for you now in both readings. So that's, right, that's serious. Ace of Fire. Seven of Materials. The Ten of Earth. And the Spirit of Guardian of Autumn, letting go. Well, Capricorn. This is seeming like you, I don't know, seeing yourself as you really are for the first time. Like that you've, I don't know, something has happened, I don't know, in the waters of Pisces. This moon is sextile Capricorn. That's a good working relationship. So these waters of Pisces, and also Saturn, your planet, is in Pisces. Your reading in the other version was really positive, was in fact very similar to this reading. The other readings have been quite different. But you seem, right, whatever is going on, you seem to be like on your way. I want to say integrating the lessons of Pluto as he spent all that time in your space. The ability to see yourself as abundance, as a creative fire, to see the path of roses. You know, maybe it wasn't visible to you. Maybe for a long time, the fact that there are all these roses that you can follow, this fragrant, beautiful, sensual, but also well laid out path is in front of you. Maybe you couldn't see it before, and now you really can. The Ten of Pentacles, the All. And then this. I want to say that you are seeing what it is to control and what it is that you do not, and it's wiser if you don't try to control. Did that come out awkwardly? How do you focus? What are the things that you are releasing? Not your circus, not your monkeys, something beyond your control. You know, any bits of control freakiness that you have going are being released. Right? So to see yourself as this abundant, creative, wealthy, affluent, gorgeous, sensual being that you are. I talk sometimes about the distortion of signs, and Capricorn's distortion has been to make it really rigid, authoritarian, the tyranny of tradition, the tyranny of we've always done it this way, of, you know, this is how it's always been. This is what we have to do to keep stability. But Capricorn is the sea goat. So it's not just about achievement. It's not just about building something, creating something. It's also about that being in line with the emotional values, the heart values, the spiritual values, the mystical. Final card. Oh, the Wasp. That's very interesting. It says anger, retaliation, jealousy. Well, I'm going to ask, what is this Wasp about? I don't really... It seems strange. That it's showing up after all of this. Oh, that's interesting. High Priestess. On the top, oh, and the Fool. On the bottom, the Moon. The Five of Cups. And the Four of Swords. Okay. I want to say don't talk yourself out of this, Capricorn. What's under the High Priestess? Yeah, the Page of Swords. Oh, and below that is the Nine of Swords. Yeah. Don't talk yourself out of it. There may be stuff in your head that is going to try and come to the surface. That all of this having, receiving, is going to be challenging. Don't talk yourself out of it, Capricorn. Just shh. You are abundance. You are the Ace of Fire. You have this road of roses to follow. You have solidity, stability. You have a wolf friend. Don't talk yourself out of it. You are abundance, Capricorn. I think I'm going to put that card on the top for you to cement that in there. Aquarius. Sky fire. Messages, channels, information. Release. The Seven of Air. The Three of Voices, the Four of Air, and the Rainbow Waterfall, Miracles. Save that for the end. This is a message coming into you, Aquarius. I don't know if you've been sitting, maybe you have been sitting in this energy of despair, perhaps, of isolation. It may be that you're really feeling Pluto's passage through Aquarius. This moon is sort of challenging. It's semi-sextile away, right next door. That can be, you know, a little irritating to us. The sign immediately next door can be challenging. Right, but there's the message. And I'm actually seeing not as this release, but as the receiving. That you're here, you may feel a sense of despair, of there's a sort of a hitting bottom kind of idea, and that can be an opening when we hit the bottom, when we collapse. Kind of, sometimes things come in then, because the resistance sort of collapses too. There's just kind of nothing. So this seems like this message coming in, right? You know, maybe you have just, you know, sort of opened yourself up. I'm actually thinking now of a tarot card that I am minded to pull out, and maybe what is around it will, there. So this Three of Swords, right, of this like really open heart. And it's showing up here between the Seven of Cups, which can be a sense of confusion, a sense of fog and not knowing where to go, to this Knight of Wands on the other side, and this, right, this message showing up. There's a message that's trying to get in. This is my card of interaction with spirit. You know, it's like a ritual performed, or, you know, that this is like a telephone, or like you know, a way of communicating with the spirits. You know, the feathers move in a particular way in the wind, right? It's like a divination tool. So it seems like this message will be more like a realization, maybe something that you see in divination for yourself, in a personal reading that comes to you, as opposed to a person delivering it. But it could also be, you know, in some book that you read something, or a poem or song, something you overhear on the street, something that comes in a dream. And then there's this stepping out, because we go from the Three of Voices, which is the Three of Air or Three of Swords, to the Four. And although you're not completely ready to go, You're still seated, but there's been, right, there is an opening. You don't have your face covered. There isn't this sense of deep darkness and this closed door and these, you know, sharp shafts coming through. There is this light that has begun to show up here. There's a growing light behind you. And there's the miracle. I don't know, it's kind of like a giant leap then. That you're in this despairing place. When this message comes through, it causes you to kind of lift your head a little bit. And that's just enough. That's just enough opening for this to slip through and for this miracle to arrive. And I don't know what that may be for you. I think it's different for everybody. Right? An amount of money arriving when you needed it. You know, learning that a health concern isn't what you thought. You know, receiving a good message about a friend or you know, your family. Whatever the miracle is. Your final card, is the Bee, which has luck first, and then industriousness, and then sweet victory. So there, you know, I want to say not just luck, but grace. That there is something, there is a co-creation here. There is you allowing this opening up just a little bit to let it come through. But there is some sort of miracle that is going to be preceded by this message. Aquarius. These have been very interesting, these readings. And Pisces. Your new moon. Oh, the sacred journey. Introversion, seeker, self-knowledge. Full moon power. Oh, the maze. This came out in somebody's reading. I was saying in the intro, if you didn't watch it, that I actually did this reading. But the messages were really sort of sucked into the eclipse because I'd been thinking about the eclipse. And so I decided to do them again with a real focus on the Pisces new moon. But there have been a couple of little repeats. I don't remember if this came out in your reading or somebody else's, but I think I'm going to post that reading with a private link so that it's not generally visible, but I'll put that in the description so you can go see it if you would like to. Queen of Emotions, there you are. Love. The Spirit Guardian of Summer with expansion. We'll save that for the end. Well, what can you say about this, Pisces? We've had all these readings in the general readings for you about you stepping into this spiritual power as oracle, as priestess, as priest, as magician, as sorceress, whatever you want to call it. And this is feeling a bit like a peak. for you, not surprisingly. We do have the full moon here. Now, I am feeling like this may be connected to either the Pisces full moon that we had last fall or the Pisces full moon that we're going to have. That one is actually an eclipse. The one that's coming this fall is a lunar eclipse. Somewhere in mid-September. I want to say the 14th, but I'm not positive. So there could be something, right, that begins now and comes to fruition then in some way. Or it could be, you know, a longer thing, last year's full moon to this year's full moon. I don't know, you're going to know that for yourself. But, right, you go on the journey, you focus on your own power, you kind of power up, you enter the maze, which I sort of see as being on the other side of this kind of archway portal thing. And then, you know, I think depending on how you see this, you know, will sort of govern how long you spend in there. And what you discover is really, right, you kind of come into yourself fully to really knowing yourself as this, you know, priestess, oracle, magician person, right? You're here walking through the surf. And you know, sometimes I see this as coming up suddenly and surprising this person, but here I see it as you understanding that this is you. Really knowing a kind of full embodied awareness of this being right there. And then that, right, that leads to love. And expansion. And this is, right, whatever that is. A relationship, a general way of just meeting the world. You know, I was thinking of that yesterday. I'm reading a mystery story, or actually listening to it. And there was a character, or actually two characters in it, who did really kind of nasty, terrible things. But they have a lot of power. They feel, you know, sort of invulnerable. And, you know, that, right, that sort of feels very frustrating. That, you know, it didn't seem like the other characters in the books could do anything. And then I actually had a dream early this morning that was exactly this. I met up with someone who was being really obnoxious, and there was nothing I could do about it in a kind of physical, forceful way. And when I've been thinking about the characters in the book, I thought, well, you know, they're going to get their comeuppance in some way. And I think that's probably true. But at the same time, while I was having this thought, I had the same thought that this wouldn't work, right? I mean, it might deal with that one particular person, but it wouldn't change the whole mindset, the circumstances, the way of thinking that led to these people being the way they were. That, right, that it's about this. That the only way that there can be real change is through compassion and connection. And that certainly is, you know, this sort of Piscean feeling moon. An interesting thing that's just occurring to me is that when we have the Virgo full moon, the Pisces sun will be very near the point where Jupiter and Neptune met back in 2022. As I recall, they met sort of somewhere in the range of like 22 to 24 degrees of Pisces. And this full moon that's coming, the sun will be at almost just shy of 24 degrees. Or maybe just past 24 degrees. I can't remember exactly. Of Pisces. So something about the possibility, right, of expansion, right, this Jupiterian feeling. Jupiter does move into Cancer, trine your sign at the end of May. Something about, right, the possibilities of peace, of, right, of a more compassionate way of interrelating to one another. I think this is kind of a momentous Pisces new moon. Your final card, is the Novice. Of course. Innocence, beginner, ignorance, new skill without practice, unstable curiosity. But, right, the Novice, the apprentice. So you, right, you are here, but it's still new. It is, right, it is a beginning. Be open to more learning, Pisces. Oh, I think it's gorgeous. And I hope you feel it too, Pisces. I wish you and all other signs the very, very best. And I will see you next time. So long.